liberty that are rejoicing as high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the roaring sea. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chasing rod. Lives in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary ears, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we praise. Oh, let's not be straight from what God will be hearts drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. Lift every voice.
Good evening. My name is John Lang, and I am the Freedom Fund Chairman of the Greater Terre Haute branch of the NAACP. Many of you normally would look forward to and attend our annual Freedom Fund banquet. I'm not sure you realize it, but the Freedom Fund banquet, aside from membership dues, is the primary funding activity for the NAACP. However, due to the coronavirus pandemic, we have decided to follow state and CDC guidelines and have a virtual Freedom Fund event. Although this event is virtual, it is still a fundraising event. Whereas Freedom Fund income is normally from ticket sales, program booklet ads, and contributions, with the virtual event, we will be relying on contributions and contributions only. So as you can see on the screen, make your contributions payable to the NAACP Freedom Fund, send it to the PO Box number, or you can consult our website, or visit us on Facebook for additional ways in order to donate. But the point is, our plan this evening is to ask you for a contribution and donation periodically. But additionally, our plan is to give you a copy or a tour of our virtual Freedom Fund journey as we present the Greater Terre Haute branch's activities, achievements, and accomplishments in 2020. We think we will keep you, the Greater Terre Haute community, abreast of what we are doing and what we have done, and that you will continue to support us and that you will contribute. We need your continued support and we need your contributions to help us continue the work of the NAACP for civil rights and civic engagement. Any and all donations will be appreciated. As we move into the journey itself, we would like to point out that the Greater Terre Haute NAACP branch is one of the many branches within the Indiana State Conference. We are pleased to have greetings this evening from our state president. Our state president is from Gary, Indiana. She is a practicing attorney and member of the Indiana Bar Association. She is a member of the NAACP National Board of Directors, serving as chairman of AXO and on several committees, including Criminal Justice Committee, the Legal Committee, the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee, Life Membership Committee, and Advocacy and Policy Committee. She is attorney Barbara Bowling Williams. Attorney Williams and Madam President, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Chairman Lang. Thank you so very much for the invitation to be a part of your Freedom Fund virtual event. We are so excited to to show that we can continue on in although it may not be business as usual, but we're continuing on, and that's the important thing. So this evening, to everyone, I bring you greetings on behalf of the Indiana State Conference, where we have 22 branches, 6 college chapters, and 8 youth councils. I also bring you greetings on behalf of the National Board of Directors, where Chairman Leon Russell presides over a 64-member board, of which I am one of the members, representing Indiana and Region 3. I bring you greetings also in the name of our President CEO, Mr. Derek Johnson. COVID-19 has imposed itself on every aspect of our lives. How we shop, how we educate our children, how or whether we even get a haircut. But more substantially, how we vote. And the Indiana State Conference, along with the Terre Haute branch, um, was engaged in substantial voter protection over this past voting season, election season, working in all aspects of getting out the vote, educating voters, getting voters to the polls. That's the work that we do as NAACP members. That's the work that we did through this COVID transition, and that's the work that we will continue to do. And so, in addition to our election protection efforts that the Indiana State Conference and the Terre Haute branch and all of our branches engaged in, we also did some other things with respect to environmental climate justice advocacy work. We were able to finance the installation of solar panels on a community center in Evansville. We helped with efficiency and lighting on on a community center in Hammond, Indiana. And one of the things that I am so very, very, very proud of for this Greater Terre Haute branch is the Our Money program, making our money work, that they engaged in. They were one of, I believe, 8 branches from around the entire country that were tagged to implement this program. I was fortunate to be able to attend the very first session, which was pre-COVID, and it was in February. And it was such an amazing program. I just wish I had the opportunity to be part of all of it. But what happened in the middle of their program, because they were meeting on a weekly basis, COVID hit and they could no longer meet in person. So they had to try to figure it out on how they were going to get through that program successfully for the participants and move forward. And they did it. They did it before anybody else was able to figure out that we were going to have to start to do things virtually. And they were so successful in that project. And I'm so proud of them. And I know that they were absolutely the right unit to be one of the pilots from around this country to be able to implement that program. So our work continues. Um, no one can tell you better than you already know in the Terre Haute area what has been going on with respect to the federal prison that's there located in Terre Haute. And, it is just so disheartening, that with all that's going on, that the federal government decides that they want to move forward with execution. We don't have enough people dying in this country that we now have to add more to the roster. Uh, I would think that they would be tired of the killing and the dying, and let's put a stop to it. And the Greater Terre Haute branch, under the leadership of President Sylvester Edwards, has just done a yeoman's job in uplifting that cause and fighting on a daily basis. So without prolonging my remarks, because you didn't come to hear me, but I just cannot speak enough accolades about the Greater Terre Haute branch. They have been a stalwart in this community and throughout our association. So again, congratulations to President Edwards. Congratulations to Chairman Lang and to all of the committee and all of the members of the Greater Terre Haute branch. I'm looking forward to enjoying the rest of the evening. And again, we roll up our sleeves in 2021 and continue our work all over again. Good evening.
Thank you, President Bowling Williams, for those remarks. I did not warn the President Bowling that we would probably talk about some of the things she mentioned, but it doesn't hurt to know that our state leader also knows of the work that we've been doing. But hopefully, you will probably hear about some of the events she talked about later on. But as we planned for our freedom journey, we reviewed our activities in the area of civic engagement, civil rights, and community involvement, and criminal justice, education, and public safety. We've collected things that hopefully will be of interest to you and demonstrate to you and for you what we, the Greater Terre Haute NAACP, has been doing to advance the cause of civil and human rights. I remind you that sometimes the line between uh, these areas of focus, civic engagement, civil rights, criminal justice, education, and public safety, the lines get blurred sometimes. Our hope is that these events and activities will resonate with you and increase your interest and involvement with the NAACP. We have, as was mentioned by the state president, adapted to life in the coronavirus era. We added an online option for our regular in-person meetings in March. We converted to fully online meetings for both our executive committee and our regular branch meetings. The change from our normal in-person Freedom Fund banquet to this virtual freedom journey is another example of pandemic adjustment. We attended virtual NAACP national and state conventions, along with numerous NAACP training opportunities. We have continued to try to serve to benefit our community. But even in this pandemic, we have continued to serve and we think diligently, altering our meetings from in person to hybrids to Zoom. We are hoping that you will agree with this approach. Our branch participates in many aspects of the community, meeting with leaders in government, business, education, activists, organizations, and civic organizations. We receive complaints and concerns from citizens seeking our advice. One such project to be discussed by our criminal justice panel, and who will tell you about a politically sensitive topic involving several community groups. Sandra Wickware, a member of the executive committee and chairman of the criminal justice committee, will facilitate and introduce the panelists on this criminal justice panel. I give you Sandy Wickware. Sandy?
Hi, I'm Sandy Wickware, Chair of the NAACP Criminal Justice Committee. We are going to highlight accomplishments that intersect in the areas of criminal justice, civil rights, and community involvement and civic engagement. Several local community activists have been meeting to discuss community police relations. Our criminal justice panel has been assembled to tell you briefly about some of their recent activities. We want to thank our guest panelists for joining us for this important discussion. Emma Crossan, representing Reform of Terre Haute, Eric Beverly, President of Change of Terre Haute, Chief Sean King of the Terre Haute Police Department, as well as our NAACP branch president, Sylvester Edwards. Welcome. Now, President Edwards, what is the NAACP's interest in community police relations? Tell us how you and the NAACP are involved.
Good evening, everyone. And this is something new to us, our branch, and probably around the country. But welcome to our freedom journey. The question was, how is our community, the NAACP interest in the community with police relations? We have a pretty good relationship with the police. We want to make sure that things does not get out of hand by being in front of any particular issues. So far, in the last couple of 2 or 3 years, the police department have gotten in touch with the NAACP that asked us to go on a journey for the community. Part of it has been with the relationship with Ryan Adamson, which is the information officer. He had invited me and the NAACP to come to a discussion with the high school and a couple of issues, and they were teen suicide, sexing, and internet bullying. So we did take care of that. We had the previous chief, which is John Plassey, has gone to our meetings. We've had Chief King have gone to our meetings. He has opened the door for myself and Arthur Feinsod to come into his office anytime that we deem necessary to talk. We have been with him at least in the last 3 or 4 months with meetings at the city hall and getting things taken care of as far as the body camera, and that was a success. But back to the question, you know, that another police officer, fictitious, that says that he, and along with NAACP, would like to nip things in the bud. We try to get ahead of things. The definition of intelligent is one who's able to solve problems, but a wise person is one who's able to to avoid problems. So that's what we're working with the city police department. We're trying to avoid problems in any and all levels. We have partnered with a number of organizations through our community, and we will continue to do so. We have a pretty good relationship with the past chief of police and the present chief of police. He has called us 3 weeks before they decided to have the body armor demonstration. He added us as part of being a part of that. He had added us when it came to policies, police policies, and using the body worn camera. And so I'll give kudos to the police department and Sean King.
Thank you, President Edwards. Emma Crossan, you became active in the community with a message through Reform for Terre Haute. What are some of the problems you focus on when addressing the Terre Haute police, and how are you involved with the NAACP?
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me to be part of this conversation. I've really appreciated what NAACP has done to help me understand what some problems are in the community, and how, and also just the work NAACP has already been doing on police community relations. So I think that one of the issues that I and Reform Movement of Terre Haute has been most interested in is trying to illuminate what the problems are in the community, and what, when it comes to folks who have had negative, what they would perceive to be, biased or discriminatory interactions with the police, or instances of perceptions of police brutality, or just interactions where they didn't understand how they were treated by the police, and didn't understand what those outcomes were for them, and had questions or concerns about their interactions with the police, or the interactions of something they observed. And so what we've tried to do is bring light to the complaint process that the police department has already set up. And I learned early on in a meeting with Chief Keen and with Sylvester Edwards. I was in a meeting with several community leaders, and what I heard Chief Keen and the mayor say multiple times is, we can't address a problem if we don't know about it. So we really took that to heart, and have tried to help folks know how they can bring complaints to the attention of the chief and of the mayor, and really look at what is that process. And then we've also, just last week, I was part of a meeting with Sylvester and Captain McCooley at the police department, just sharing some of our concerns about the complaint process. And maybe folks don't necessarily know how to submit a complaint, or facets of the process that are a little intimidating. So we just had a really frank, candid discussion about that, and making sure that the police department knows what some of those issues are, and reasons why they might not be receiving complaints, even when folks do have negative experiences. So there's fears of retaliation, fears of whether they're based on folks' experience with the police in the past, they may not want to submit a complaint, or fear that they or their family will be retaliated against. So we just try to bring light to that, so that we can have more open and more frequent communication between the police and the community, to really understand what those problems are, and then knowing that there are other ways also to bring light to problems in the community, and besides just the complaint process. But we're trying to do that, in a variety of ways to help folks understand history of race and policing in Terre Haute or other problem areas with policing here.
That's great, Emma. We appreciate that insight. Eric Beverly, we want to hear from you now as a young activist and protester in the Black Lives Matter movement. You have come to the table with the police chief and the NAACP to discuss improving relationships between police and the community. You were present when the key decisions were made. Tell us briefly about some of the questions and concerns raised about the body cams. Why do you think you have been included as a participant at the table?
First and foremost, I'm honored to be in this Zoom meeting. I'd like to say thank you. I was at the table, like you said, with Chief King, Mr. Edwards. That was also an honor to be a part of with the body cams. After the George Floyd incident, nationwide, I believe that both sides benefit when it comes to body cams, the safety of the public, and the reinsurance of an officer doing his job. When it comes to Black Lives Matter, this movement took off here in Terre Haute, nationwide as well. There's still a movement going on. Through the process, we've been working with the Terre Haute Police Department, which we continue and hopefully do furthermore. The body cams was an issue. As we see in the nation that we're in when it comes to reform, we believe that the Terre Haute Police Department and police department nationwide can use reform. A lot with many other things and organizations in our world today can use reform. So yes, it's been an honor working on the body cams. I believe they are in the works now and officers are equipped with them.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
The Terre Haute Chief of Police, Sean King, has been working with all of you to address some of these community concerns. We commend all of you for coming together to seek answers to the challenging problems confronting our community. Chief King, please share with us what you feel has been accomplished and what changes you are implementing in the Terre Haute Police Department as a result of these discussions.
First off, again, with me, thank you for allowing me to be part of this discussion. It's an honor. To answer your question, I think it was definitely an education. This process has been. I've known Mr. Edwards for quite a while, as he spoke about, and we've had other discussions in the past, and we participated in different things. But I think this particular, or some of these particular meetings we were a part of, I got to hear younger voices as well. And that's something that I probably hadn't heard enough of, maybe. So I got to hear it from their perspective, which is sometimes a little different than maybe my generation or a little bit older than them. So that was helpful. Some of the changes that came as a result of that were some things. Ms. Crossan brought it up, the complaint procedure. One of the questions you had, well, why isn't it on the webpage? Well, it wasn't. And the more I thought about it, she's right. So we made those changes to try to make it more accessible to people. Probably the biggest change as a result of these conversations has been the overall body camera program that we talked about. It is fully operational now. But one of the things we did different than probably any other police department or community in the state is we had stakeholders involved in the entire process. As Mr. Edwards talked about, I asked the stakeholders to come in and be part of it from the presentation stage. So we got to hear from the different vendors so that they could see and ask questions as well as what is the capabilities of these systems. But then we followed all the way through to the policy development. And I had input from all the stakeholders in that, and that actually helped shape some of the policy. And my thought process behind that was, if the goal of this program is to be more transparent, then I need the community involved in it as well from the start. They need to understand what these cameras can or cannot do. And if there's something that I'm not getting at by creating a policy, if I'm not addressing their needs as well, then it's really, we're cutting ourselves short. So that's why I think I'm not aware of any other department, at least in this state, that has involved stakeholders in $1 million policy implementation such as this. But I'm glad that we did, and I took a lot of what was said. One of the things that we actually added to was, in the beginning, we were just looking at body cameras, and because of the input from the different groups and stakeholders, we also now have dash cameras and cameras on the prisoner compartment of every one of our marked cars. So that's something that came about directly because of input from the different stakeholders. So I would say that those are the major changes that we've had. I think we continue discussions on different things that people have interest in or would like to see change. But accomplishing a body camera for a department, a body camera program for a department our size in the short amount of time that we did it, I'm pretty proud of everybody, all stakeholders included.
Chief King, it sounds like you are making real progress working together in the Terre Haute community. We want to thank each of you for taking this opportunity to talk about such an important subject. In our remaining time for this segment, I would like each of you to take a few minutes and tell our viewers how satisfied you are about the experience of working together and your expectations for the near future. Let's start with Chief King, representing the Terre Haute Police Department.
Overall, I'm very satisfied with the discussions we've had. I still think we've got a lot of areas that we need to talk about, and I think there's some areas within that we can find common ground to make better changes that better provide for the entire community. And I hope that through these discussions, everyone has seen that we've been willing to do that. There are some things that legally I can't do sometimes, and I try to explain that the best I can when those issues come up. But overall, I've been very pleased with everybody's participation in these. I mean, sometimes there's some times where some of these discussions get heated, but in the end, I think that everybody, it's important we hear from everybody and hear how these things impact them. Overall, I'm very satisfied, but I still think we have work to do, and my door will continue to be open and have further discussions in the future.
Thank you. Eric Beverly, representing Change of Terre Haute, how satisfied you are about the experience of working together and your expectations for the near future?
Just to go back to when the first protest started, back in after George Floyd, we had our first protest to where we are now, just working with local politicians, working with the police department, working with other leaders in the group such as Emma, working with Coach Edwards. It's been a slow process, but we have seen some improvement. I won't say perfection, but as long as we keep seeing progression, I say we're in the right path. We're definitely taking steps in the right path. Like Chief King said, that we are in a slow process right now, but as long as we keep moving forward and keep progressing, I think that we're definitely heading in the right way. We do have a lot of work to still do. Hopefully with the year coming up, we can keep knocking down these barriers and keep communicating and keep doing the greater good for the community. Thank you all.
Thank you. Emma Crossan, how satisfied are you about the experience of working together and your expectations for the near future?
Yeah, well, I'm not satisfied because I think there's a lot more work to be done. I would say I'm energized more than satisfied. Energized to keep going. And where I really, want to put my energy is in relationships with folks in the community who are most impacted by policing and really understanding their experiences and trying to, figure out how to really just trying to understand more, all the various experiences that folks have with the police and where there are problem areas, where there have been improvements in police community relations. Just really trying to, understand that more. I grew up here, but just moved back a year ago after about 20 years away. So, I have a lot of learning to do, and I think it's really in those relationships that's where I find the most satisfaction, is really understanding, what people's experiences are of issues, and then trying to figure out how we can, work in solidarity to move our community forward and improve the quality of life for folks here. So I'm not satisfied, but really energized to keep doing the work, and have appreciated, Chief Keen's open door and willingness to share what he can. And when I understand there are, moments where the law doesn't allow, the sharing of certain information. And one of the things I'm trying to understand, and the reform movement's trying to understand, is what can we expect from the complaint process, and what kind of information can we expect to have, and how can we track and know how the department is, responding to certain situations. For instance, this just last week, the concerns about Officer Newman's social media posts, or concerns about incidents that have been captured on live PD, or concerns of just individuals who have submitted complaints through the NAACP. So, we want to be able to know how we can track those, and how the community can understand how the department is responding to those. And in some cases, that information is easy to get, and in other cases, it's the law prevents, certain information from being public. So we're just trying to understand all that, know what we can expect, and then, go from there to figure out how we can help support people to have problems addressed. Thanks.
Thank you all for being here. I'm turning this back over to our NAACP branch president, Sylvester Edwards, for the final remarks.
Well, thanks again, everybody, for being here. Emma, Eric, and Chief King. As things got out of hand up in Minnesota, I believe it was earlier this year, the four of us came together for the benefit of Terre Haute, and we will continue to work together. I see this as a partnership. Normally, what happened when something negative happened in the community, they see NAACP, and sometimes people think that we are negative because we bring in out certain issues. But we are on the forefront here in Terre Haute. People see us all the time taking care of community problems. There is an open door policy, not only from the police department, but also to the mayor's office. During a marching that we had here in Terre Haute, it had been monitored. Some people thought that the NAACP was not a part of it, but there were members, whether people knew it or not. There was monitoring from right here from my apartment, that I talked to Chief King about what was going on, and he let me know what was going on in the community. So we are a partnership. Even the mayor have called after the marching had occurred to keep us informed. And we want that communication with the city, with all the entities and administrations of the city. So we will continue to be an ample part, a part which is going to make this community proud of who we are. As I said in the past, people thought that the only time the NAACP was visible is when something negative happened. We have been on the forefront of positive things in the community, and we will continue to do the same. I thank Eric, Emma, and Chief King for being here this evening. Thank you. Is everything frozen?
No, I think Gene maybe made him on me to take over again. Sandy, thank you very much for that panel discussion. And I also would like to thank again the participants in the discussion for your taking the time and also to give us your input. What it demonstrates to me is that the police department in Terre Haute is open to ideas and information from other organizations. Go back and start my video. So, as we begin to think about moving on, I would like to point out to you that even before another aspect of criminal justice is our involvement with in the branch in support of the protests against the death penalty. And the protests against the death penalty, as you know, because recently what has happened is that the recent upticks in executions has caused the NAACP to organize and conduct a public hearing against this issue. And this public meeting was conducted with other groups involved, the Terre Haute, the Death Penalty Action Organization, the Terre Haute Death Penalty Resistance Network, and the NAACP. And we've conducted at our branch meetings. And what we're showing here, this shows some of that protest being implemented. The thing about it, we need to understand or be made knowledgeable of is that the NAACP has gone on record as being against the NAACP has gone on record as being against the use of the death penalty as a final solution for criminal punishment. And and because we just happen to be unlucky enough to be in the community where the death penalty for the federal governments are carried out, because the federal penitentiary at Terre Haute is the only place the federal government conducts death sentences or carries out death sentences. We just happen to be here. So whenever they're talking about executing, it is time for us, not just the NAACP, but the community involved, to let the people know the injustices are wrong that the death penalty causes. So that is what I'm talking about here. Now, as we think too, there are other instances where the NAACP has been active with and in discussions with the police department. And among these incidences, you might recall that the NAACP you might recall that the NAACP was one of the first organizations in Terre Haute to step up and express all concerns about live PD. Police Chief Keene, I'm sure he recalls, attended our branch meeting. For the important aspect of that was we had an open discussion. Disagreements were expressed, disagreements still exist, but there was an open dialogue and a spirit of continued cooperation as a result of those discussions. And Terre Haute, the Terre Haute contract for live TV has been later suspended. We're not sure if that is because of our action or because of actions within the nation, consultation on police issues and police matters, or things that we need to continue to do all the time. So next thing we'd like to talk about is we have an active chairman of our Veterans Affairs Committee. In fact, it's called the Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committee. We have an active chairman of that group, and that we're going to receive at this time some comments from the chairman of the Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committee, and she is Ms. Stephanie Stewart. Now, Stephanie has only been in the Terre Haute area for about 2.5 years, but she has joined in with the NAACP and has become very active. And she, being a veteran herself and having served in the Marines, she is probably an ideal person to begin some veteran activities for the NAACP branch, because that is one of the national priorities, is to make certain that the benefits and obligations that are due to go to veterans or distributed equitably to the veterans. So we have Stephanie Stewart who will take over now and talk about the Greater Terre Haute Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committee activities. Stephanie. Stephanie,
Hi, my
you're
name
on.
is Stephanie Stewart. I have almost 10 years of active duty. I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. I served from 1982 to 1991. I have experienced homelessness and I am in recovery and have almost 12 and a half years sobriety. I have lived here in Terre Haute, Indiana for almost 2.5 years. I have the pleasure of meeting some great people who I have met through the Greater Terre Haute branch of the NAACP. I encourage you to come to a general meeting held every third Monday at 6:30, at present via Zoom. There is also Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committee. All are welcome. When we fight, we win.
We observe Veterans Day on an anniversary, not of a great battle or of the beginning of a war, but of a day when war ended and our nation was again at peace. Ever since the armistice of November the 11th, 1918, this day has been to remember our debt to all who have worn the uniform of the United States. Our veterans have borne the costs of America's wars and have stood watch over America's peace. And today, every veteran can be certain the nation you served and the people you defended are grateful. Today and every day, the prayers of the American people are with those who wear our country's uniform. They serve a great cause, and they follow a great tradition handed down to them by America's veterans. Our veterans from every era are the finest of citizens. We owe them the life we know today. They command the respect of the American people, and they have our lasting gratitude. The military life is built around sacrifice.
During this past year, Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committee for the NAACP has advised and referred a veteran. Upcoming events for 2021. One is join the Armed Services and Veterans Committee. And the upcoming events for 2021 are 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day. We look forward to seeing you. I have only done my duty as a man is bound to do. Alfred Lord Tennyson, entitled The Revenge.
One of the first casualties of the War of Independence was Crispus Attucks, a black merchant seaman killed in the Boston Massacre of 1770. Slaves and free black men fought together in the Continental Army, but after the Revolution, African Americans were largely barred from serving. Some ignored the ban and fought valiantly in the War of 1812. Among the most famous black units of the Civil War was the 54th Massachusetts Regiment, whose heroic assault on Fort Wagner in South Carolina became legendary for the display of bravery against all odds. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation prompted thousands of freed and escaped slaves to fight in the Union Army and Navy. Their brave efforts helped to defeat slavery and gain the vote for African Americans. After the war, the Army maintained a number of black units. In the West, they helped preserve order on the lawless frontier. Native Americans called them Buffalo Soldiers. Among their feats in the Spanish-American War, the all-black 10th Cavalry Regiment assaulted San Juan Hill. With America's entry into the First World War, heroic units of black soldiers included the 369th Infantry Regiment. Known as the Harlem Hellfighters, they served on the front lines longer than any other American unit. During the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Dory Miller, an African-American Navy steward, manned a machine gun to shoot down Japanese Zeros. African Americans continued to serve heroically during World War II, although in segregated units. Nonetheless, the barriers were slowly being broken. Black women were now able to enlist in the armed forces, and the number of black officers was increasing dramatically. Benjamin O. Davis Sr. had become the country's first African-American general in 1940. His son, future Air Force General Benjamin O. Davis Jr., commanded the 332nd Fighter Group, also known as the Tuskegee Airmen. Their outstanding performance helped to bring an end to segregation in the military. In 1948, President Truman issued an executive order directing the military to give all soldiers equal treatment and opportunity.
There is no justifiable reason for discrimination because of ancestry or religion or race or color.
By 1954, the Army had become the first major U.S. institution to integrate. A decade later, during the Vietnam War, blacks and whites made up an integrated fighting force. Joe Wynn is a veteran of the Vietnam era. Joe remembers the early 1970s as a time of challenge and change.
I would have to say there was racial tension, not only in Vietnam, but at many of the bases stateside as well. We wanted more civil rights, fair and equal opportunities. Same type of individuals who are challenging you at home are challenging you in the military.
After Vietnam, black men and women volunteered in large numbers, and African Americans were rising in the ranks. Samuel Gravely, first African American admiral in the U.S. Navy. Frank E. Peterson Jr., first African American general in the Marines. Hazel Johnson Brown, first African American female general in the U.S. Army. General Colin Powell's appointment as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff marked a high point in an extraordinary legacy of service. In Operation Desert Storm, he led U.S. Armed Forces to one of the most impressive victories in military history. Today, African Americans continue to reach for new heights, like Captain Vernice Armour, who served in Operation Iraqi Freedom and became the first African American female combat pilot.
My dad was in the military, my grandfather was in the military. I'm also standing on very, very strong shoulders from the people that came before me, black female pilots, Tuskegee Airmen, General Peterson, first black aviator in the Marine Corps.
African Americans have valiantly answered the call to defend our country time and again.
Hi. The Armed Services and Veterans Affairs. For any veterans issue, you can always call. For any veteran issue, you can always call the above listed contact number for the Veterans Administration. For the As a former homeless veteran myself, I know it seems as though there's no place to go and that nobody cares. But we do care. You can always go to the Veterans Hospital, which is open 24 hours a day, to the emergency room and ask to speak to a social worker and tell them you are homeless and need a place to stay. Also, if you are a veteran and an outdoor citizen and need assistance with housing, please call the toll-free number 1-877-424-3838. A lot of veterans self-medicate. and are afraid to seek or visit their local VA health office, whether it be a CBOC or the hospital. I can tell you that you will not be judged nor arrested at either one of these facilities due to your self-medicating. The VA is here to help. You have earned your benefits and being treated medically is right. Of course, the VA worker will ask you if you want to quit, to include cigarettes, and also recommend some prescribed medication for you if needed. You may also be recommended to receive substance abuse treatment, inpatient or outpatient, and or mental health services. Both of these services are beneficial. As many as 20 veterans commit suicide every day. There are mental health specialists that can help you. If you just need someone to talk to, please call the toll-free number listed on the slide, 1-800-273-8255. Once evaluated, you will be given an appointment and prescribed medication if needed. Please call. We are done dying. We are entitled to other benefits, such as a VA loan, medical, housing. There's the HUD-VASH program, which is sort of like Section 8. There's also emergency housing and transitional housing. Please call 1-800-827-1000 and give them your information. There are also more benefits such as education, medical, nursing home, service-connected, and non-service-connected financial benefits. Please call 1-800-827-1000. Even more benefits, there's substance abuse treatment, burial benefits, and a certificate of eligibility, which will help you get a home loan. All veterans are qualified for these services. Please call 1-800-827-1000.
We need to extend our thanks to Stephanie for that report that tells us a lot of information about veterans. And it tells us also how veterans have been a part, so African American veterans have been a part of the military life for a long time in this country, and they are making strides. It was a good historical review. Uh, Stephanie did not say, but we are looking forward to 2021, and the Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committee is thinking about putting on special programs, especially on Memorial Day and on Veterans Day. But we're also looking at maybe doing some other things for the veteran community throughout the year. So we want to thank Stephanie for that report and commentary. You know, as we think about uh, life in America, we think back and we can think back on times when things were not very good. Uh, Teresa Bynum is going to talk with us briefly about three different activities that literally are dependent on one another or ascribed to pull everything together. Facing Injustice Project, the Soil Collection Project, and the Declaration of Innocence Project. So I give you now our treasurer and former president of the branch, Teresa Bynum. Ms. Bynum.
Good evening. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to talk to you about a very special project. Um, it's an ongoing project that's being conducted by some very special people in our branch, headed by the awesome Gene Rewa, who is working with a very dedicated team of people. um, Facing Injustice Project in honor of George Ward. Terre Haute's Facing Injustice Project is part of a national campaign to recognize the victims of lynching by collecting soil from lynching sites, erecting historical markers, and creating a national memorial that acknowledges the horrors of racial injustice. Ward was a suspect in the shooting death of a 20-year-old female schoolteacher, but the crowd would not wait for a trial. Instead, the mob broke into the jail, violently beat Ward, and hanged his body from a Wabash River bridge. The crowd then burned his body on the river's west bank. In honor of Mr. Ward, an arrangement of red and white carnations marked the approximate place on the west bank of the Wabash River where the mob had burned the body of George Ward after lynching him on February 26, 1901. Terry Ward, George Ward's great-grandson, and a former Terre Haute resident who now lives in California, speaks about the lynching of his great-grandfather. Generations of George Ward's descendants gathered in Fairbanks Park near the Wabash River to participate in a solemn ceremony remembering his lynching at the hands of an angry mob in February of 1901. It hurts to know that anyone could do such a terrible thing to another person, he said. His case was never tried in a court of law, and the woman who died never got due process. Justice was not done, Terry Ward said. After the 1901 lynching, many male members of the Ward family left the Terre Haute community because of the stigma. Younger generations weren't told what really had happened because families didn't talk about it, Ward told us. Ward's family seeks healing. This is the reason for the soil collection ceremony and recognizing in the recognition of injustice. The soil from the west side of the Wabash River, where George Ward was lynched, was collected in January by members of the Ward family and Sylvester Edwards, president of the Greater Terre Haute branch. During the remembrance ceremony, the soil was placed in 3 jars by Ward family members and guests. The collected jars of soil were provided to the Ward family, the Vigo County Historical Society, and the Legacy Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. The national effort is the Community Remembrance Project of the Equal Justice Initiative, called EJI, based in Montgomery, Alabama. The EJI project helps communities talk about it and create a path toward healing and reconciliation. We want to thank Jane Rewa for being so dedicated to this project and the others who are committed to bringing all of this information forward and making this a possibility in this community. An outgrowth of this project is the Declaration of Innocence. Dr. Arthur Feinsod, the Religious Affairs Committee Chair of the branch and President of the Interfaith Council of Wabash Valley, was inspired to initiate the Declaration of Innocence when he met the Ward family during the emotional soil ceremony honoring George Ward, who had been accused of killing a Jewish woman in the city. After Ward was lynched, the rabbi of the local synagogue condemned the lynching, as would any man of principle, regardless of the race or religion of the murder victim or the accused. He was a victim of vigilante justice. Since Ward was accused of killing a Jewish woman, Feinsod considered it only appropriate that the Declaration of Innocence should come as a collaboration between a Jew and an African American, as a symbolic gesture of peace reconciliation, and brotherhood in moving forward through the act of cleansing George Ward's name and the names of all lynching victims for now and posterity. Yes, the lynching victims are dead, but we owe it to their memories to stand up for both them and our system of law, to which they were denied full access by vigilantes whose blind hate made them circumvent the court system and the rule of law. If we do not declare them innocent victims, we condone any lawless act where people take the law in their own hands rather than confer that power to those authorized by law. It is an act of reconciliation that could put teeth in a long overdue public apology to victims and their descendants. Therefore, be it finally resolved that any crime allegedly committed by lynching victims remain unproved through full legal process, and therefore this declaration of innocence hereby nullifies, abrogates, and reverses all allegations that may have been levied and institutes the presumption of innocence with which all accused Americans are entitled.
Thank you, Teresa. I might point out to you that the Declaration of Innocence that Teresa has spoken of, that was developed by Arthur, who, by the way, is a member of the executive committee of the NAACP. We sent that declaration forward to the state conference of Indiana of the NAACP. The state conference of Indiana has forwarded it with modifications, mind you, to improve its worth and its value to the national office. And it is currently in the process of being considered to be placed amongst the declarations that are approved or voted on at the national meetings. Now, sometimes the resolution will go from there and get it implemented or activated by other means. But this particular declaration, they felt, is one that we might bring directly to the attention of the House of Representatives and the Senate to see if we can get them to act on a resolution of this nature without it having the going through the whole resolution process of the NAACP. So it's still the results on that are open. But the other thing would be worth mentioning is that um, Representative Lewis, before he died, proposed a bill is to make lynching in America a federal crime. And that bill has been held up and stuck in committee. It's one of the things that the NAACP at the national level and as individuals have been asked to send letters to our congressmen and representatives. So I point out to you that we may come to you asking you to send your opinions, your statement to our representatives and or senators at some point in time in the future, supporting lynching legislation that makes lynching a federal crime. And also we might even ask you to send up something supporting a declaration of innocence for those that have been wrongly accused and lynched before they had an opportunity to go to court. Because anyone that does not have their day in court, obviously they have not had their full measure of justice. And that's what we like to try and prevent. Because the NAACP is about providing equal justice under the law to all Americans. Now, what I'd like to do at this point is turn things over to Oscar Session. And Oscar is going to talk with us about there are many people that are around that are active in NAACP, and it's not just the COVID crisis, but over the past year, we have lost several that were active in our organization. And at this point in time, I'll transition to Oscar so that Oscar can help us to memorialize these fallen freedom soldiers. Oscar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. We, as NAACP members, often refer ourselves as soldiers in the struggle for freedom. And indeed, we are fighting a battle against racial injustice. Our members support the branch in many different ways to help us achieve our civil and human rights for everybody. Unfortunately, we, throughout the year, lose some of our members. And we'd like at this time to pause and remember those members in the NAACP Greater Terre Haute branch who passed away since our last Freedom Fund banquet. The first one is Norma Jean Garrett. Norma was an active and a member and worked in the NAACP in voting. She worked as a poll worker and as a poll supervisor in state, national, and federal elections. She was also active in registration and other fields related to voting. Norma served her community through the organizations which she belonged to. She was a member of Bethlehem
Oscar is having some technical difficulties, I believe. I see that his microphone is gone mute. So Oscar, if you can still hear us, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. You hear any of it?
We hear you. We hear
mic keeps going.
Yes. We did hear some of that.
The first one I want to mention is Norma Jean Garrett.
We heard the bulk of Norma Jean's discussion.
Okay. Norma Jean was a member in our chapter, and we passed Norma's name into our chapter for the fallen warriors. The second one was life member Earl Harvey. Earl Harvey was for several years a member of our executive board and worked with us as leaders in the branch. He served on the mayor's task force for the development of our Terre Haute branch human relations commission. He was
You're gone mute again, Oscar. Oscar, you've gone mute again.
He was an avid civil rights worker, and he helped had a great in helping young people by getting them memberships in the organization. Fallen warrior Earl L. Harvey passed during this period of time, and we like to
what's her name? Gene? Oscar appears to be having some issues with his microphone. So I'll take over if you can continue.
Okay.
I'll take over. And then you can continue to share the slides that Oscar has.
Okay.
So I think uh, Oscar just completed talking about Earl L. Harvey, who was a retired U.S. Army chaplain, and he was very committed civil rights activist within the Terre Haute community. We will miss Earl Harvey as we commend him as a fallen civil rights soldier. The next one is on our list of fallen soldiers is a Silver Life member, Reverend Dr. Kenneth B. Ladd. Reverend Ladd served for 40 years as pastor of St. John Missionary Baptist Church, and where he retired as pastor emeritus. He was a former president of the Indiana Missionary Baptist State Convention. He will be remembered for his community service in the fight for freedom, supporting the works of Pastor Henry Barnhill and Thomas Wood. We commend to the fallen civil rights soldiers, Reverend Dr. Kenneth Ladd. Our next fallen honoree is Silver Life member Mrs. LaRosa Pate. Mrs. Pate was a dedicated, exceptional English teacher at Vigo County Junior and Senior High Schools for more than 30 years. She was a community servant in her church and other groups, serving in capacities to uplift youth. She served often as an AXO mentor, and AXO is the organizational arm of the NAACP that promotes young children, students, and kids in terms of cultural enrichment and educational activities. She was served as an AXO mentor and also as the local judge supporting area competitors throughout her time in active in the association. We again we honor Silver Life member Mrs. LaRosa Pate. The next one is Mrs. Jessie Wood. Mrs. Wood is a dedicated wife of Reverend Thomas R. Wood Sr., and she served as his president for over 68 years and was the mother of their 6 wonderful and successful children. She was a first lady and selfless companion, supporting her husband's ministry work and his civil rights activities through their years to their lives together. She loved attending Freedom Fund events and would definitely be at our Freedom Fund event if she would still be able to. We honor and memorialize the life of Mrs. Jessie Wood. So what I'd like to do at this time, if you would, I'd like to take a few moments of silence in memory of the 2020 fallen warriors as the facilitator show their faces one more time. Amen.
Thank you,
You
John.
know, you're welcome. Thank you, Oscar. You know, we are sort of lucky in that we were selected to be one of those pilot programs for the economic empowerment program that had been spoken of earlier. So I give you Theresa Bynum again, who was the prime mover to present this program to us. Theresa?
Yes, I was unmuting myself.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. This was a fantastic program, and it was a wonderful opportunity to serve the community in presenting this. Um, Anytime you have the opportunity to make money work to figure out how to make money work and to work with people to do that, it's great. Um, this program offered people in the community an opportunity to achieve better financial security. We recruited people interested in learning how to make their money work. This program had been implemented successfully by the NAACP and other communities around the nation. It has changed lives. Different results were achieved depending upon needs. The participants become empowered by the knowledge and skills they learn. We were recommended by our state conference president as the branch in Indiana that could make it work if any branch could do it. And so we were offered the opportunity and we said, yes, we will do this. It was kicked off in the last week of February. It's a 13 week program, and we took the materials, we recruited people, and we found people who were willing to help with facilitating it and went forward with it. The course materials were provided to the participants and the facilitators, and we kept their commitment to attend the program, which was 2 hours per week for 12 weeks. When COVID-19 crisis hit, it made in-person attendance impossible. The class promptly met by teleconference, and a few weeks later, we changed over to Zoom video conference. We never missed a week meeting. Each participant expressed how interesting the class was, or that he or she learned so much. We had a great time learning together, and each of them said they would recommend this class to others. We fully intend to do this again, to make this an offering. This is one of our goals for 2021. What you see there is what we developed as our class picture, because with COVID, we were not able to uh, have an in-person meeting to get the certificates and have our graduation. So we put together the pictures, and each person who graduated got the certificate and a class picture. And those are the people who participated, stuck it out, and learned, and we had a great time. On the back of that brochure, we've got a listing of comments where each person shared with us what they felt, how they felt about the program, and each person got that as a souvenir to go along with the certificate that they got. The facilitators were fantastic and worked with us, and they are willing to do this again. So we look forward to having this program offered in our community another time. The materials are available, and we will look forward to doing this so that others can learn how to make money work and develop the skills that they need to keep going. And it's something that you can share with family members. We had one student who was a high school student. She came with her mother, and she was quite delighted to be part of that. We had a husband and wife team, but for the most part, people were individuals, and looked forward to coming and sharing with each other the information that they were learning. So it is an awesome, awesome program. We got a grant from the NAACP to uh, do the program, and there's enough in the grant to permit us to do this program again. So that helped us with providing the materials, and nobody who participated in the program was paid. The facilitators worked with us for nothing. They just did this as volunteers and looking to help in what they were doing. It's an awesome, awesome program. We want, we hope you've liked what you've been hearing so far. We hope that you will continue to support us. If you would pledge to make a pledge to the Freedom Fund. You can donate your time, your money. We, you see, in order to send a check to the NAACP for our Freedom Fund, you can make a contribution to our P.O. box. Let us know if you want to put it in the chat and let us know that you want to make a pledge. We would be delighted to have you continue to keep us going. Um, Freedom is not free. We all volunteers. We don't get paid anything, but it costs something sometimes to just to do mailings and to send uh, 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 take care of stamps and to sometimes to rent things and to whatever we need to do or to send donations to people. But we who work in this do this out of the because we're passionate about what we do. And we know we have had some people who've already given us donations, and we want to acknowledge the fact that we have had some donations already that started coming in because people see what we're doing and want to support us, and we want to say thank you. As the treasurer of this organization, I want to acknowledge that early on, we got a $300 donation from Sherry Wallingford, and we got a $500 donation from Dennis and Marcia, and we got another $100 donation from Carolyn Calicod, and so we thank you for that kind of support, and for others who want to. I mean, these people have already sent us donations for the Freedom Fund, and so. We always need to be able to keep things going so that we share our donations with the national, because that's part of what we do, because we are a national organization, and that helps us keep going with the things that we have to do. We have to train our leaders and make sure that we are doing the things that you see that we're doing. If you like what we're doing and want to support us, we encourage you to keep doing that so that we can stay viable and keep doing the things that we do. So please keep supporting us. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Teresa. I remind you all that without your support and support we need is financial support. We also need your moral and physical presence support from time to time as well. Another thing is we've mentioned that we're active with various other organizations, and one of the organizations that we are active with on more than one front is with the Vigo County Public Library. And as you all know, the Vigo County Public Library annually conducts some programs and things during Black History Month. And this year, they got with women in the NAACP and to and asked the women in NAACP if they could help them put on a film festival. Now, this film festival was a different kind of film festival, but bear in mind, it was done during the era of COVID. But the idea of this particular film festival was people were asked to view the films themselves, and then on the day of the film festival panel discussion, representatives from the NAACP uh, uh, got got together at the library to talk about these films and quote unquote to look at how Black lives are displayed and or envisioned in the films. The films that were reviewed were Us by Jordan Peele, Loving by Jeff Nichols, Moonlight by Barry Jenkins, A Raisin in the Sun by Daniel Petrie, and Crooklyn by Spike Lee. Now, it turns out that I had seen three of these movies, and it's a very good. They're very good movies, and uh, they show an aspect of American life that people ought to be aware of. But we are engaged with the community. Another area where we're engaged with the library is we co-sponsor along with the library and the League of Women Voters and a couple of other key organizations. The Cracker Barrel political discussions with the senators and state senators and representatives from our area. And I would like to point out to you that these are held on the second Saturday of each month when the legislature is in session. And this year, because of COVID, they've already announced that they want to continue the series, but they're going to try and do them virtually. Now, again, we're trying to adjust to COVID, so we have signed on again to continue to be a co-sponsor of that very important event. I am hoping that Oscar Sessions' situation, his technical difficulties have been solved, and that we could call him back on to talk with us about our membership discussion. Is Oscar? Yes. Membership, life membership report. Are you there still, Oscar?
Yeah, I'm gonna be able to do it because I keep losing the site.
Keep losing the voice. I don't want to.
No, I lose the whole.
Oh, use the whole thing.
I lose the website. Go back and check in again.
Okay. Well,
You.
I'll tell you what. If Gene has the slides, if you can go ahead and start, and if it looks like you get locked out again, myself or Teresa Bynum will jump in and pick it up. If that's okay with you.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can go ahead. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. On this slide, I listed the life memberships over the past year. So we have in our branch now 80 life members. We had annual members of this year.
Teresa, looks like he went out again. So I think Oscar mentioned at a report he gave at the membership meeting this evening that he did not. I don't have the number for the number of annual members, but organizational members, there are 19. The organizational members represent organizations within the Greater Wabash Valley that have a life membership within our branch, and there are 19 of those. And then he also talks with us that there are 3 corporate life members within our branch. And these are corporations within the Wabash Valley that have paid for a life membership at a corporate level so that they could be corporate life members. There are 7 subscribing life members, and we also have 2 junior life members. And I was hoping that they would at least be on the broadcast. So because we don't have the annual members number, and I think what Oscar was trying to portray here is the additions to the annual membership as opposed to the renewals. And I think that's why he has that blank, because
We had 34 is what he reported at the annual meeting.
Very good. So we have 34 annual members paid up for this year in the membership due. Of course, life members are members for life. So we have quite a number of life members. The other thing we could like to point out too is the subscribing life members. Life membership in the NAACP is $750, and you can pay the $750 over a span of 10 years to secure your life membership. So therefore, for $75 per year, you could be a subscribing life member until you get it paid up. Now there is no there is no penalty if you pay your life membership. If you're a subscribing life member and you pay it up early, there is no penalty. In fact, we would encourage you to do that. And who knows, next year maybe we'll have half of these subscribing life members as new life members that we'll be talking about next year. In addition to these, we'd like to also talk about the life members that we have received this year. And I'm going to let Teresa take over the life members portion. Teresa.
All right.
There you go.
This year, we have introducing and adding to our what we call the Torchbearers for Freedom, Mr. Gene Griffin, who is um, a certified financial planner and owner of Capital Systems Planning. He was a volunteer with us and working with the Making My Money Work program. Um, he is very committed to working with. In fact, some of you may know him as the being affiliated with the um, Griffin Bike Park. He and his family founded that in honor of their son Dale Griffin, who was lost in battle, and he's he was very impressed with the work that we were doing, and has come on board and decided that he liked what was going on with NAACP, and made a commitment, long-term commitment to the NAACP by becoming a life member. So we recognize Gene Griffin for his as a silver life member of the NAACP. Next, we have Mr. Melvin Burks, and he is CEO of Hamilton Center and a long time member of this community, a servant leader in many aspects of the community, has been a member of the Vigo County School Board for many years, and other organizations committed to working with youth and disadvantaged groups in this community. Um, he was our keynote speaker last year at the Freedom Fund banquet. Gave a very moving presentation. Um, he too made a commitment to support the NAACP, made a lifetime commitment to sustain the NAACP by taking out a life membership. So we recognize Mr. Melvin Burks for his life membership, a silver life membership in the NAACP. Ms. Susan Daler, who was a very quiet lady who came to our Freedom Fund um, with friends who've been involved in a number of projects, especially some of them who are working on the Facing Injustice project, um, has just apparently just wanted to be part of things, and she's very close to Gary Daly. She felt moved to take out a membership after the experience of being at our Freedom Fund in 2019, and decided that she liked what we were doing, and decided that it was time to make a commitment, a long lifetime commitment to the NAACP. And she uh, decided that it was time for her to have a life membership in the NAACP. So we recognize Susan Taylor as a silver life member of the NAACP. Dr. Sharon Daly is retired from ISU and is an active member of the Interfaith Council um, of Wabash Valley. She is involved in various organizations in the community. Um, Decided that she likes what we do and is committed to civil rights, and made a commitment to the NAACP last summer. And joined as a life member, Silver Life member. So we recognize Dr. Sharon Daly for her life membership as a Silver Life member. Ms. Jean Rewa, a committed volunteer, champion, awesome worker. Uh, she's behind the scenes and making this program working for us, but she is on our executive committee, has been for several years, is the chair of our community uh, coordination committee, a mover and a shaker, and is making things work. She's the driving force in our Facing Injustice project, and serves very nicely with the committee that is getting things going. We are just delighted with the commitment that she provides as a volunteer in getting things done. She serves very well in all of the things that she does with the different projects, whether it's has to do with environmental justice or just serving in the various ways she puts on programs. But she brings her professional talent to play and makes things work for us. So we are delighted that she has made a commitment, a long a lifetime commitment to supporting the NAACP with her life membership. So we recognize Jean Rewa as a Silver Life member of the NAACP. And Mr. Terry Ward, you heard about him earlier, who is the great grandson of the lynching victim George Ward, and former resident of Terre Haute, who now lives in California, who has himself become actively involved with the committee that is working to um, bring healing and to the family for the atrocities that were committed against him. And he is a member of the steering committee and is actively involved in working with this branch on that, and has made a commitment to this branch by first taking out his own life membership in this organization and supporting the NAACP, as well as bringing on board his other family members to show his commitment to and an appreciation for the fact that this branch and the people that are working on this project are bringing healing to their family for this. So again, this is a commitment on his lifetime commitment to the work that is going on in this branch in this NAACP. So we recognize Mr. Terry Ward as a Silver Life member of the NAACP. So there you have it. We have 6 new lifetime torchbearers for this branch. Uh, life membership is the lifeblood of the NAACP. Life membership is the sustaining part of membership. Any of you, we need everybody to become a member, and you can join. And you can go to our website, naacpterrehaute.org, and find an application to join our branch, and you can send it to our PO box. We encourage you, if you're going to join, when you join, to join through the local branch and send it in so that we can process your membership. If you send it directly to national, it's all right, but it takes a while for us to find out, that you've sent it in to national. But if you send it to us, we'll process it, and you're a member of our branch immediately, and you're automatically a member of the national when you join the local. So, but join, so that we can help track things for you and keep you engaged and get you involved in everything that we're doing. But we love to have you as a member. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. We are now near the end of our planned program activities. And I think it's a good time now for us to introduce to you the 2021 Executive Committee members, as well as the officers of the branch who were recently elected in the branch elections that will serve the 2021 and 22 year. So what I'd like to do at this time is introduce them to you. And as we introduce them, I ask that you to, the pictures will probably flash for a minute so we'll know who they are, who they look like. The other thing I'd like to say is that the executive committee members all are, uh, in the end, we all serve on committees and we have committee chairmanships for the most part. And we can always use more people on committees. So I ask you to please consider joining the committee of the Greater Terre Haute branch of the NAACP. So if I could start and with the executive, the members who were recently elected to the executive committee itself. And the people that have been elected to the executive committee are Tommy Johnson, and I see Tommy is not on.
No, she wasn't.
She was on earlier.
She wasn't. She wasn't elected to the executive committee.
Oh,
She
pardon
was.
me.
She was chair of the executive. She was chair of the committee, but she
Chair of the
wasn't elected.
committee,
Yes.
right? Okay. My apologies for that. I looked for that list and didn't have it. But I know
Gee.
Arthur Feinson
Right.
is a member of the executive committee, duly elected. Gene Rewa is a member of the executive committee and recently reelected.
Sandy
And Sandy Wickware,
and Valerie.
who's a member of the executive committee and recently reelected. And
Va-
Valerie Craig, who is a member of the executive committee and was recently reelected. Thank you.
There you go.
And then
Yeah.
our officers elected to serve the term, or the assistant treasurer, Oscar Session. Wave to us, Oscar. There you go. Thank you. Treasurer, Mr. Restavinum. Assistant Secretary, Sandy Wickware. Oh, I'm
No.
sorry. Excuse
No.
me. Assistant Secretary, Stephanie Stewart.
He's tired.
Hello, everybody.
Aloha.
Aloha.
And Secretary, Ms. Drusilla Thomas.
See if we can get the vice president right.
Vice, Vice President John Lang.
Yay.
And our reelected and president is Sylvester Edwards. And I saved Sylvester for last so that he could have his some comments that he might have for us. And then after Sylvester is posing comments, we will try and look for some questions and answers from the Q&A box and or from the chat box that we could try to answer, or comments, one of the two. So I'll give you now the president who has served as our president for the 2020 Freedom Journey and who has been reelected to continue to serve as our leader for 2021-2022. Sylvester Edwards, president of the Greater Terre Haute NAACP. Sylvester.
Good evening again, everyone. The mission of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all people and to eliminate race-based discrimination. We invite the community to join our branch. As has been said earlier, that we do have life membership. We have yearly annual membership of $30 per year. You can extend this up to $75 per year for 10 years. It's $750 for a paid, fully paid life membership. The Greater Terre Haute branch of NAACP invites you to participate in our monthly general membership meeting on the third Monday every month at 6:30. Due to coronaviruses, we have gone to virtual Zoom meeting. And thank you, Ms. Bynum, for assisting along with Jean and John and Ms. Sandy, and Ms. Valerie are all capable of having these meetings for us. We do have, as you become a member, you may want to get on one of the committee as a chairperson or just a member of a committee. We're open arms for any and everybody because you have knowledge, you have wisdom, education, and experience in life and also in business that we need these expertise to help us to succeed in the coming years. You can also make a contribution to the NAACP by pledging to the local branch of the Greater Terre Haute branch of the NAACP, number 3068. Make your check out to the Freedom Fund, P.O. Box 10538, Terre Haute, Indiana, 47801-0538. Or you can contact us by our online NAACP terrehaute.org. So anyway, there's a number of ways to get in touch with us to contribute. And we want to make sure that our community is safe, it is progressive, it is open and welcoming to the people who move in and those who are citizens here in Terre Haute itself. We thank you for being on this broadcast. It will be available anytime you want to get online to see it and also to contribute. We thank you for being a part of our freedom journey. Thank you from the Terre Haute branch of the NAACP.
Thank you, Mr. President. The other thing I'd like to point out to you is one thing, and that is that as the chairman of the Freedom Fund, and also as therefore that meant I took on the role as Freedom Journey, which is what we did that. What I'd like to do at this point in time is to thank the members of the Freedom Fund Committee, and especially Mr. Ressa Bynum for the tireless work that she put in on making certain that we had the facts correct and that we all had information that we could share with each other. I also want to thank Jean Rewa especially, because without her technical assistance, we would not be able to put on what we've done so far. The thing I would ask is, I'm not really sure if we've done a good job, but I would like to think that we have done a good job of trying to let the Greater Terre Haute community know what we've been about, what the things that we have done, and that you appreciate that we have not been sitting idly, that we have been trying to do our best to advance the cause of equal justice and equal rights for all Americans in the Greater Terre Haute area. So again, I would like to say thank you to my committee. Thank you to the president for allowing me to do this. Thank you for all of our panelists who came on and participated as panelists. And then I also like to especially thank our state president. And if our state president has rejoined us, I would give her one more minute, because in the chat box, she mentioned to me that she'd forgotten to do one thing when she was on. So if she's on again, I'll give her 1 minute to do that.
I'm on, but no video.
Oh, well, you can talk.
Yes, I do. I wanted to say, I forgot to mention when I spoke earlier, I want to congratulate President Edwards on winning the Franklin Breckinridge Award this year during our virtual state convening. That is the highest award that's given by the state conference. And although he was nominated for another award, the committee felt he was deserving of the Franklin Breckinridge Award. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to you all on this very impressive Freedom Fund that you've done, I guess. So thank you again. You made me very proud.
With that, we want to all congratulate uh, President Edwards by a clap of the hands.
All right. Hey, and Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I was just noticing the comments in the chat. Congratulations to the team and the effort here. It looks like we've had pledges of $1,300 so far.
Well, very good. Very good. And the important thing to me is that those that signed into the broadcast, at one point in time, I noticed we had 22 people active and engaged at the time. And it doesn't sound like a large number, but we're fairly certain that there were a group of about 55 other people that were sent an invitation that would ask them, allow them to look in Facebook and get on our Facebook website where this is being live streamed, or to our NAACP Terre Haute website where this is being live streamed. And we pretty certain we have some people that did that because some people, knowing they're not going to be speaking and be on camera, will choose to just look at things on Facebook or on their website. So with that, I'd
You
like to
just see
thank.
Valerie's comments, 155 on Facebook.
Yes, I hadn't seen it yet. Thank you for reminding me. But again, I say unto you all, I thank you for having participated. Those of you that are not members, we need your help. We need your support. I invite you to become a member. I invite you to come and join us at our Zoom meetings. And once the vaccine is fully distributed to everyone and we start real meetings again, come out to a meeting. With that, unless someone else, are there any Q's, questions and answers? Are there any Q&As we need to address in the Q&A box? I did see a
Yes, I
couple
don't
of
know if you can address them, but there are some in there.
I did see a couple of things in the Q&A box, and I'll relay them to you. The question is with if the question is about the availability of body cam footage, and I think if the chief was still on, we'd be able to get an answer to that. The person that asked that was Valerie Craig, and what we'll do, Valerie, is we will confirm our understanding of the availability of body cam footage. But I was actually in one of the meetings where the body cams are being looked at and discussed, and that question did come up. And one of the things is there's some legal issues around whether or not body cam footage can be readily given up and displayed to everybody. And that is to say, if there's information or something pending, or there could be someone on the body cam footage who's not involved in a criminal action, and you might be exposing that person to certain things too. So the body cam footage is not generally just available, but he had a different answer for that. It was that included those aspects, but it also includes some others. So we'll get a response from Chief Keen, and then allow the membership to have that meeting, even if we have to present his response in an open meeting at the branch meeting. The other question had to do with how can the NAACP partner with the police and then stand up for police reform? Uh, I don't know if I don't know if she has the right word there or not, but police stand up. I think we will stand up on police response. That is police response. That is to say, if they're going to reform to something we're against, we'll be against it. But that's one of the advantages of being at the table as these things are developed, is we can express that disagreement. And then if they're still developed with points in them that we don't like, we can let the public know that we were against those things in the beginning. Mr. President, I don't think I've overstepped my bounds on that, have I?
No, you're not.
Okay. And the other thing is, that's why I say we are for police reform. and we should be for police reform because we feel there are things happening in police departments, not just in Terre Haute, but nationwide that are not good for the communities they police. So for that reason, we ought to be for police reform. But really, the things that the police reform to, those are the things we need to be standing up and thinking: Are they right for us? Are they right for our community? And then making our words known on those things to everybody. Again, we can answer those questions in more detail or better in a written format, probably at the next branch meeting.
And if I may add something, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
if you were listening to what even the chief was saying, he learned something from talking and from the dialogue with the groups, especially in listening to the young people and the discussion, and it resulted in them changing some things. So partnering may not be the right word, but the fact that there is dialogue and that as opposed to being adversarial, gives you the opportunity to have exchange of information and back and forth. And so as long as there's communication, there's an opportunity to move forward, and that brings about positive change.
I think the key point here is maybe partnering is not the right word. The right word is, if we're at the table, we can influence the final decisions that are made at the table. If we're not at the table, we're out in the dark. So the
You're on the
NAACP,
menu.
we're on, on the menu. The NAACP is committed to trying to be at the table on the important issues and decisions that need to be made in Terre Haute. One of the other things I will mention before I announce a close is that, we had to pick and choose the things we could talk about, the things we would talk about, because there's so many things we're involved in that it's hard to pick out things just to squeeze into a 2 hour video conference. So we've tried to pick out those things, but we are involved in other things within the Greater Terre Haute community, and we encourage you again to join us and help us understand, uh, you know, and help us be a better voice or a bigger voice in the Terre Haute community for what we're trying to accomplish. With that, thank you very much for attending. The old Zoom goodbye is a wave. If you'll make that wave, thank you.